Let's start up by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Welcome to another live lesson. I got a strike on the GMS Info Doc Channel 12 for a video that we did back in 2021 on the street. So-called, medical misinformation on the, C19, but I thought that they, clipped that, wasn't pushing that anymore. But you know how these devils do. But anyways, I don't really have a whole lot. Just one point I was going to bring out, Lord's will, in this lesson, and then from that point on, see where the Spirit leads. I was trying to get this other bench I normally get, in the shade, but there's a bunch of people there now, so I'm gonna go here. If it gets too crazy, then I might have to move over by the shade for a little bit. I mean, it's not too bad right now, but we're gonna get into real quick is the book of Joel chapter 2. I'm gonna read the 20th verse, and then we're gonna go through and break it down. There's some good points here, because the times that we're in the times of prophecy, and as you see the system of the way that the system is going financially, as far as monetarily, which is financially, also there are other prophecies brewing, dealing with these wars. And the reason why things are getting stirred up is because the Lord is stirring it up. You have insiders, you have these top bankers, you have these top leaders of the world that are pretty much all in bed together, and are pretty much, they're causing certain things to happen on the world scale and making it seem like there's a great opposition one to another. But pretty much, this is all in the plans of the Most High, because eventually what's going to happen, as it speaks about in Ezekiel 38, an evil thought shall enter into Russia's mind. And that's what's going to separate everything, because at the end of the day, you can do all the backroom deals that you want, but once the Lord, puts the spirit on these devils to do what they do, it's going to be over. Like in the book of Proverbs 21:1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the king's hands are in the hand of the Lord. So no matter which way these kings plan on going, if it's not going according to the plans of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, they will be turned away from that. Another good one is in Proverbs 16:1. It says, the preparation of the heart in man and the answer of the tongue is from the Lord. So pretty much, these things that are happening because the Lord is putting the spirit on these nations to do that. And once the plans veer from the Heavenly Father's plans, that's when he's going to stir them back in the right direction. Let's go to Job 14:5. It says, seeing his days are determined. What are the days? The days of rulership. Because we're at the end of the heathen kingdoms. And the last heathen kingdom to rule would be Esau. They are at the top. The other nations are ruling with him, but he is the top dog right now. And this is why all nations are coming against him now, because they're trying to take that top position. But they don't understand that top position belongs to Yahushai and this nation of Israel. Because Yahushua is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he's coming back to do war, to take back his kingdom, his rightful place on the earth, and we will be joint heirs with Yahushua. So it says, seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee, thou hast appointed his bounds that he cannot pass. So no matter what they do, they only have a set amount of time, whether they spend it in one place or the other. No matter how they slice it up and do it, at the end of the day, you're not going to go past that time frame that the Lord set up. Everything is set up by age, meaning an uninterrupted rule, a period of time where you would rule. And we're at the end. All the signs are visible. You can see it. This is why these nations are ramping up. So when we go to Joel 2:20, it says, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army." Now, who is the northern army? The northern army is America. It's not dealing with any other nation but America. And the reason why is because the Lord is going to remove this army, from that, this region of the world, and bring it over to what they call the Middle East. It says, "And will drive him into a land barren and desolate." Now, what is that land barren and desolate? Well, that's over there in Saudi Arabia. Those areas, the majority of Saudi Arabia as a whole is pretty much desert, and the Lord set it up that way. You have deserts, you have forests, you have, vegetation, so on and so forth. But down in the land of Arabia, which is where the Northern Army of America is brought to, that's over there, so-called Saudi Arabia. And pretty much, going back to 1989, even before that, but 1989 was a key date, a key year, because that was the time when they went down and they set up something called Desert Storm. They were ramping up, but it really was, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, January of 1990, when they actually either set things off or had troops on the ground. I don't really remember exactly every detail, but 1990 was a very key year, for Esau going down there. And ever since then, they've been there. They've been in Afghanistan, they've been in all those different regions in there. Why? Because the Lord got them stirring shit up. And they're saying that, some people are saying that Russia wants peace, but America doesn't. This is why they keep doing all the things they do. NATO doesn't want peace. That's why they keep doing the things that they do. But at the end of the day, it's all the Lord. Man's goings are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own ways? So at night, that's when the Lord seals their instructions. So it says with his face, so the land barren and desolate is so-called Saudi Arabia, with his face towards the East Sea. Now, what is the East Sea? That comprises of the Euphrates River and the Persian Gulf. That body of water there. Because when you look at the map and you see the Euphrates River, it dumps right into the Persian Gulf. So that whole region right there, that's that barren land, coming down, into so-called Saudi Arabia and in those regions there, and the river Euphrates plays a major part in prophecy, which we're going to get that in real quick in the book of Revelation. I'm not sure if that's Revelation 6 or Revelation 9, probably Revelation 9. And I want to show you something real quick for those of you, brothers out there, and a few sisters that may not know. Let's see, let me find the verse first and then we can get that other point. Okay, all right, I got it. Boom. Now when we go back into time, back to the book of the beginning, Genesis, back to the beginnings, back to the headings, right? And we read the second chapter, right? The second chapter speaks about a particular river that was planted in the garden, because it was a garden. The whole world is Eden. The earth is Eden, which goes back to the Hebrew word Aidan, which means joy or paradise. And the Lord planted a garden there, eastward in Eden, which is over there in the, land of Israel and that region there. And then there is a river that ran right through that whole land, which is the river Jordan. And the river Jordan was broken up into 4 heads. All right, now when we read verse 14, right? It says, and the name of the third river is Hiddekel, right? So the third river, Hiddekel, that's the Tigris River, which flows on the east of the Euphrates River. And that's also another key, river. That is it, which goeth toward the east of Assyria, right? Because it's on the eastern side of Assyria, as where the Euphrates River is on the western side of Assyria, right? It says, and the fourth river is Euphrates, and the Lord had that land, or I'm sorry, that body of water still retain that name because it was going to play a very important, pivotal part in prophecy in the end times. All right. So when we go to Revelation chapter 9 and verse 12, it says, one woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And if you understand prophecy, if you've watched the videos in the past, you understand that Revelation 9 on down to around the 11th verse was all dealing with World War One. That's why it says one woe is past, and behold, two woes more come hereafter. That was World War One, and then World War Two and World War Three, because World War Three would be the war to end all wars. And even Einstein made an observation that if World War Three was fought with nuclear missiles, which it will be, also the lasers from the chariots, World War Four would be fought with sticks and stones, because it said that it would destroy pretty much everything, But there's not going to be any World War Four, because after World War Three, the Lord is going to be established on the earth. The Israelites are going to be established on the earth, and there will be no more wars ever again. And this is one of the many ways that we know that those small hats, in the land now are not the people, because they've established themselves for over 70 years, in that land, and there's still no peace. Matter of fact, Elder Apostle Gabar goes into it. The very day that they set up, not too long after they so-called established themselves, there was a war that broke out between Egypt and them. And then back in the 60s, you had Gamal Abdel Nasser, who pretty much waged a 6-day war against them. So they are not the people. Wars are still all throughout the planet Earth. War is a propaganda machine that they use, to make money, because war sells. War is profit. They don't want wars to end, and the only way they will accept war ending is when the world accepts their NWO, the New World Order, that they are establishing, which will pretty much have everyone in subjection under them. All right, so it goes on to say, and the sixth angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the four horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying, to the sixth angel, which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So there are four actual angels over there that you can't see them, of course, and they're holding back these wars from really popping off. But there's going to come a point where the Lord is going to withdraw his hand, so to speak, withdraw the angels, and he's going to allow those wars to ramp up, because that will be prophecy being fulfilled. The Lord said he mustereth the host of the battle. That'll allow prophecy to be fulfilled, and this is what another part of the prophecy that we're waiting for. But the main one right now, in the forefront, is the MOTB, which is the micro C-hip, and that, my friends, has to be fulfilled before anything else can happen. Before the end comes, that micro C-hip, which is the MOTB, has to be fulfilled. If the micro C-hip is not fulfilled, the end will not come. If the micro C-hip of, which is the MOTB, is not fulfilled, the end will not come. All right? The Lord said his words don't go out void. So going back to Joel 2:20, so we had we got the Northern Army, which is America. We have the land barren and desolate, which is Saudi Arabia. We have with his hinder part towards the east, with his face, meaning the front of them, towards the East Sea, which you have the Euphrates River / Persian Gulf, that whole region right there. It says, and his hinder part, meaning the back of him, towards the utmost sea. All right, now what is the utmost sea? That is the Red Sea. And if you're facing towards the Euphrates and the Persian Gulf, you'll be facing east. And directly behind you, further back, of course, would be the so-called Red Sea. Now, I looked up that word utmost, right? And that utmost is Acharwan, which means last. Achar, here it says Achar, Acharan, or Acharwan. Yeah, I mean it's a little Acharon or Acharwan, you know. So it says behind, following, subsequent, western, because the Red Sea is where? In comparison to where the Euphrates River and the Persian Gulf is, it would be towards the west, towards the hinder part. So you have the Euphrates River, you have the Persian Gulf in the east, and then directly behind, further back, is the Red Sea. And that whole region of land there and everything in between, that's where this final war is going to take place. This is why you see the armies ramping up over there. So it says, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up, because he have done great things, right? Because what the Lord is doing right now, he's gathering these armies over there, because it is the time of the Lord's vengeance for the controversy of Zion. You know, the Lord is going to pay these devils back, these nations back, for everything that they've done to us. So they're not going to get away, even though it seems like that, because the wicked are in authority. You know, they have the power. You know, they don't hold themselves guilty. The law is slacked. But the Lord said that he's not going to acquit the wicked. That's why he said, they whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have assuredly drunken, and art thou he that shall altogether go unpunished. Thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So Isaiah 34:1, it says, come near, you nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. So this is a future prophecy that Isaiah was witnessing and writing down. So this message is to the world, because this is going to be a worldwide event taking place, you know, and the scripture say that all eyes shall see him. So when Yahushua comes back, every person on the planet Earth is going to know that the Lord is here, you know. It says, and you know, if you have people that are out there in remote areas, they're going to see, because the skies are going to be covered. You know, if you have people that are still living in those primitive states, they're going to see it, because they're going to look up and they're going to see. But the thing about a lot of those primitive people is that they know about the chariots. They see the chariots. All right? So it goes on to say, for the indignation, which is the righteous anger of the Lord, is what? Is upon all nations. He's bringing judgment upon all nations, including certain Israelites. And his fury upon what? All their armies. Because once this place goes down, America goes down, and this final war, World War III, is fought, all of the armies are going to be wiped out. The only thing that's going to be left pretty much of these armies are some of the weaponry around the world. And the scriptures say we're going to go around for 7 months, which is just a complete amount of time, and burn it pretty much with spiritual power. Because no one will ever learn war again. These nations that have these armies, what they're going to do is they're going to go back into a subservient slave way. This is why the metaphor of these weapons being turned into plowshares and pruning hooks is a representation of going from war to slavery, pretty much. It says, he hath utterly destroyed them, he hath delivered them to the slaughter, right? Because it goes hand in hand with, you know, the scripture in 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, where it speaks about Yahushua coming back, and this multitude of you know, nations and their militaries fighting him, you know, in the air, pretty much. These jets, fighter jets that they have. And the Lord, going back to the early 1900s, late to early 1900s, when he gave them the technology to be able to fly, he gave them that technology to set up and establish an extension of their sword, which is their blessing, to fulfill prophecy. And this is what we're witnessing right now. And when the Lord comes back, these armies are going to be fighting against each other, but they're going to stop fighting each other and try to fight against the Lord. And guess what? They're going to be obliterated. All right? It says of an innumerable multitude, going back to the word Armageddon, Harmagad mountain of the troops, there was nothing left but dust and smell of smoke. And the vision was so terrifying that even Ezra was troubled. He was like, "Oh snap!" The way that the Lord eviscerated these devils, made the prophet Ezra, cringe. Let's see. It says, "Their slain also shall be cast out." See, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood, meaning their governments. And this is why we read in Joel 2 about the ill savor, the stink that's going to be going up. And this is why the very first crop of slaves is going to be the international banking families, these rich to-do families among the Edomites, the other nations. They're going to be the first crop of slaves, and their very first job is you're going to have a group of them going around identifying bodies, putting up signs next to those bodies, and you're going to have the next crop of slaves coming through, digging and burying those bodies. You see? That's going to be their very first job. Out of them bomb shelters, that they've gone to. So the scriptures speak about having continual employment. There will not be any unemployment lines in the kingdom. There ain't gonna be, labor disputes. There ain't gonna be none of that. You're gonna do, you do what I tell you to do. Slave get this and slave get that. Inside joke. And that's it. Nothing else to it. It says, and the host of heaven shall be. What's the host of heaven? Meaning they're military. What is a host? A host is a military, an army. That's what the Lord said. He is the Lord of the Yahweh of Tazabawath. The Lord of Sabaoth, not the Lord of Sabbath, the Lord of Sabaoth, which is the Lord of the armies. Okay? It says, so that host shall be dissolved, reminiscent of 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter. Same exact thing, just worded maybe a little different. And this is why I said that when the Apostle John saw Yahweh and the angels coming back, he actually saw Esau in their fighter jets fighting. Because prior to that, he actually saw Esau, fighting in these jets, in World War I. And then when the Lord came later on, which would be during World War III, he saw Yahweh, coming back through the clouds. And then he saw this war up in heaven, where Michael and his angels fought, which Yahweh is leading that pack with the dragon and his angels, which the dragon is a representation of Esau's whole system, all of Esau's major empires coming together as allies, fighting against each other, against the nations, and then stopping and then turning to try to fight the Lord, and the Lord is going to eviscerate them. That's what that war in heaven is all about. This is when the scriptures say that Satan was cast out of heaven. That's what it's talking about, meaning that they're going to be flying up there in these jets, and they're going to fight. They're going to be fighting. Then when the Lord shows up, they're going to try to fight against him, and they're going to be taken down. And it said that their place shall be found no more in heaven, beginning with they're not going to go up into the skies anymore, and that they'll never ever establish another colony or anything on the planet Earth ever again. How about that? It says, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. So what would make the heavens roll together as a scroll? A scroll, when you look at it, it's twisted like that, it turns. Those of you that have ever seen a scroll. So when you look at what the modern day scientists, which are the modern day Smiths, call a mushroom cloud, when the bomb hits the upward motion, and the blast, when it goes up, it tends to take the clouds and turn them, and that it looks like a big cloud, but it looks like a big mushroom if you ever look at a mushroom. So pretty much that's what it was. This is what Isaiah was witnessing. This is what the Apostle John was witnessing, and they were witnessing the same thing. It says, and all their hosts shall fall down. Satan's place shall be found no more in heaven. Right? It says, As the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. And you've heard Elder Pastor go into that. Like a fig, when it falls, it kind of arches. The way a fig looks, if you ever looked at a fig, it arches. And that's the same way the missiles are going to come down. They're going to come down in an arching fashion. That's why they're known as the ICBM. They're shot from one place, shot up, and then it comes across into the outer atmosphere, back into the inner atmosphere in an arching fashion. You know, and I believe if I'm not mistaken, the capability or the furthest they can go is either 6,000 miles or a little less, 5,000 some odd miles, which is perfect. Which shows you that the Lord gave them the proper technology and the proper trajectory to shoot them things to be able to get to this side of the world. It's amazing. It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Why? Because they are the ones that are going to be in power when the Lord comes back. That's why it says Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Bottom line. All right, so going back to Joel, and you can read the rest, it goes into, how America is going to be pretty much desolate. There ain't going to be no stragglers in America. America is going to be a lake of fire. From east to west, from north to south. So going back to Joel chapter 2, right? When you start at the beginning of this chapter, it goes into, the missiles. Because that is what the Lord gave them. This is why he said he creates the smith that blew off the coals in the fire, because he gave them that technology to fight against each other, puff at each other, because that's going to be the great equalizer to destroy this place, along with the chariots, of course, and the lasers. But they're not counting on that, even though they're preparing. They're counting on their missiles and stuff like that, shit like that. You understand? All right, let's go real quick. Inside joke. Let's go real quick to what is that? Same book, Joel chapter 3, verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles or the nations, prepare war. Right. Why are they being prepared? Because the Lord is gathering or mustering the host of the battle. He's setting up these militaries. He's giving them the ammunition. He's giving them the weaponry. He's giving them the strategies to fight. He's, setting them up in these different locations because he's going to come and pour his fury upon them, which is his indignation. He's preparing these nations for war, their armies. Wake up the mighty men, which are what? The warriors. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up, right? Because now it's time to fight. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Yeah, because at one point, other nations didn't have the weaponry to be able to withstand a fight against America. But what they did, a lot of those nations, was they took some of the money that they had, and instead of investing it into agriculture, they invested it into their military. You see, and that gave them the somewhat of an upper hand. And now you have unions of strong nations that have nuclear capabilities and have massive armies coming together, to fight, and defend themselves against America, against NATO, so on and so forth, which is all a part of that beast. It says, let the weak say I am strong. Yeah, because once you obtain a nuclear missile, even though you might only have one, these other nations, are going to think twice before they push you to they push you, because if just one nuke could do a lot of damage, because it has multiple warheads, So it says, assemble yourselves and come up all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, which are the angels. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. Now the word Jehoshaphat, Yahweh Shaphat, means the Most High's judgment, and this is synonymous with Armageddon. because the Lord is gathering these nations' armies to pour his indignation upon them. And it's going to be the Most High's judgment, because that's the ultimate thing. What's going to bring an end to this place? Yahushua, the angels and the chariots, and this final war, which they call, modern day they call World War III, which the scriptures call the third woe. It says, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So the Lord is judge. He's doing the judging. He's setting up, these things to happen. He's setting up all the dominoes in place so he can knock them down. It says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Yeah. So when you have a sickle is a agricultural tool used to cut down ears of corn or whatever you got, grains, because it's when you pull out the sickle, it's time. Okay, the harvest is already ready, so let's go. Let's chop it down and gather, all that we got to gather so we can have store. So it says, put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe, meaning it's time. And this is why the Lord is, because when you farm something, you farm a land, you have to break up the land, you have to, set everything up perfectly. Then you have to put the seed in, and you have to nurture it, watch it, when it grows. If there's any weeds, you got to pull the weeds out. So the Lord is setting all these militaries up and all their armies in different strategic places. And now, once they all get in place, the harvest will be ripe and ready for the plucking. It says, come, get you down, for the press is full, the vats overflow, for their wickedness is great. And this is what's bringing that about. This is why the Lord said that Babylon's wickedness has reached unto heaven. All right? Multitudes in the valley of decision. See, so the multitudes goes hand in. What are the multitudes? They're militaries. And that goes hand in hand with Armageddon, or Harmageddon, which is mountain of the troops. It says, in the valley of decision. Why? Because that valley of decision, which the Most High also calls Jehoshaphat, is where the Lord is going to bring his judgment. For the day of the Lord is near. In the valley of decision, the sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. Why? Because in that day, there's going to be so much smoke and ashes going up on this side of the world that is going to block out the sun for a certain period of time. It says, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion, right? Because Yahushua is coming to do battle. He's coming to kick ass. He said he's going to let out a roar like a travailing woman, a cry, and utter his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, right? Because when the Lord comes back, what's going to make the heavens and the earth shake is going to be the missiles that are going to be pelting down upon the earth. Let's get real quick Isaiah 24, and then I'll finish that out and close out with that. Isaiah 24 and 18. And it shall come to pass that he who fleeth from the noise of the fear shall fall into the pit, and he that cometh up out of the midst of the pit shall be taken in the snare, because there's not going to be anywhere to hide. Nowhere to run to, baby, nowhere to hide. Inside joke. In America, it says, for the windows from on high are open, and the foundations of the earth do shake. And why are they going to shake? Because these empires, these heavens that are established, these rulerships that are established are going to be removed, because Yahushua is coming to take them down. The earth is utterly broken down from the missiles. The earth is clean dissolved. The earth is moved exceedingly. Why? Because of the vibration of those missiles hitting. When you have certain situations happening, they cause earthquakes. Earthquakes cause tsunami. So it's a domino effect. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard. From what? From the pressure of those missiles hitting. And also this another scripture speaks about the noise and pestilence, because there's going to be a lot of noise, chaos, rumbling. When people are in an earthquake, they're frightened. So just imagine the whole earth rocking. Nowhere where you can run to, for safety. It says, and shall be removed like a cottage, and the transgression thereof shall be heavy upon it. and it shall fall and not rise again. And you notice it keeps saying the transgression, the wickedness is going to be great upon it. Why? Because this is the judgment of the Lord that he's bringing upon it, because it is the time of the Lord's vengeance, the Lord's indignation. So going back to Joel chapter 3, and now verse 16, the Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and his voice from Jerusalem, and the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord shall be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel, because only the Israelites, the elect of the nation of Israel, will be saved out of America. Anyone else that's on the soils of America ain't gonna make it. It says, so shall you know that I am the Lord your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. Why? Because the time of the time of the Gentiles will be fulfilled, because they will be in the land of Jerusalem until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. All right, and that's different. It's a total different idea or thought than the one in the Romans 11 chapter. Two separate ideas, two separate thoughts, two separate breakdowns. It says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the mountains shall drop down new wine, right, because the kingdom is going to be established, and the hills shall flow with milk, and all the rivers of Judah shall flow with waters, and the fountain shall come forth of the house of the Lord, and shall water the valley of Shittim. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolation, right, because Egypt and Edom are synonymous, just like Edom and the daughter of Babylon are synonymous. Just like Edom and Sodom and Gomorrah are synonymous. It says, a desolate wilderness for the violence, the controversy of Zion, against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in the land, but Judah shall dwell forever, and Jerusalem from generation to generation, for I will cleanse their blood that I have not cleansed, for the Lord Yahweh B'Shem Shai dwelleth in Zion. So this is why you see these different nations ramping up, and their armies gathering together. It's all about prophecy. So with that, I pray that you brothers and few sisters have been edified. To the next time I say Shalom, I'll be here. I don't know how long, week or whatever, because I got a strike on the GMS Info Doc Channel 12. The water for the brothers that pass the channel around. Shalom.